Hello and welcome to Horror Rewind. This is Kelly Florence.
And I'm Meg Hofdahl.
And today we're talking about Channel Zero. We're going to talk about all the seasons.
Yeah, so spoilers ahead for like every single season.
What is this show? Why didn't I know about it? Like, who, what?
So it was airing on the Sci-Fi Network? Like, I guess I need to like keep up with the Sci-Fi Network better or something because I had no idea this show existed. I saw it on Shudder. And I kind of hesitated. I was like, oh, maybe I'll watch it. But the first season, they showed a picture of Mark Brendanawicz from Parks and Rec. And I was like, I don't know.
I know. And so I didn't know anything. And then I was watching something and a commercial for Channel Zero came on. And they showed the image of like the thing on fire walking down the hallway, and then they showed the image of Mark Brendanawicz. That's not his name, but you know what I mean. With like the what is that scythe? What is that? Yeah. Like behind that little girl. I'm like, what is this show? I'm going to watch it immediately because both of those images were really striking to me. And then I found out it's like an anthology where they tell different stories every season, like injected into my veins.
And every season is based on a creepypasta, which I thought was so cool. And like, why didn't we come up with this idea? Like, it's brilliant. So you watched it all and were telling me how brilliant it was. And then you said start with season 4. So you watched it in order 1 through 4. And I watched it backward 4, 3, 2, 1. So it'll be interesting to see if that affects anything.
Yeah. And I hope it didn't like ruin it for you. But when I started season 4, I literally screamed like twice in the first episode. I'm like, just start with this, Meg, because it was making me feel so many things at that moment. So I hope I didn't ruin it for you.
Not at all. So, okay, but should we start with season 1? Talking about season 1. Okay, so I immediately loved the setup. I love the whole going back to his small town and something creepy happened to his twin brother.
I mean, right? And the mom is Fiona Shaw. Like, that's a powerhouse. And there's this really interesting dynamic with like his friends and ex-girlfriend, or, you know, we don't really know. But remember like this moment when, you know, his brother was like in flashback, and they love this too. Like they do this perfect stuff through flashback when he asks his girlfriend, like, well, you know, it's not me. Yeah, if he tries to kiss me. And I'm like, oh my God, what if she kisses him and he's got the extra tooth?
That's what kept coming in my mind. I was like, why would they say that if it wasn't important? And that was kind of a red herring, really, because it didn't really come into play. And you think he's going to kiss her in that one moment. And you're like, she's going to see that he's Eddie. And oh my God, oh my fucking God. But I love how in every season, they tell the story in such a way that makes you feel smart, because you get to put things together and like have those moments of like, oh fuck. Like in this season, I loved how I didn't know he just came out of a freaking psych ward, and then they just very gently kind of put that in there, and you're like, what? And then they have flashbacks of him cutting his arm, but then they show that
you don't know yet.
It says Mike come home all down his arm, and they do it very matter-of-factly, and you're just like, what the fuck? Like I love how they tell the story. And then with those quick cut images that you're talking about, they do that every season. I love that because it really keeps you on edge and tells the story in these little tiny minuscule drips, and it makes you scared.
It's so good. And I read this creepypasta because back when people still read them, I don't know, do they still? I don't know. I remember reading this one. I'm like, oh, that is creepy. Like everyone remembers this TV show, but it was like, you know, the parents don't remember it. And that's such a good setup, and it's icky, and it's like there's that weird puppet stuff that's creepy, but then there's also, of course, the tooth fairy, I guess is the actual monster name, like the chattering teeth.
Yeah. So first, the show, The Candle Cove, I kept thinking to myself, I just want to be working on Channel Zero where I get to make the puppets and I get to like write the dialogue for the puppets and stuff, and like the expressions the puppets did and everything. It was perfect. I loved it.
And that's the other thing, is they have this really great balance of tone where they can bring in some cheeky, like funny things, yet I'm still terrified at the end of the day.
Oh yeah. And then, yeah, the tooth fairy, I was like, why have I never thought of making a creature covered in teeth? Yeah. It's scary as fuck. It was so creepy. And also when he gets the tooth in his gum and he's like trying to pull it out and stuff. Oh my God.
I know. Like when something really, really scares me, I make other people watch it. Like I will be like, okay, Campbell and Vienna, do you want to come in and see this? And I made them come in already. Vienna sometimes will stay. Sometimes she's like, I'm over it. But I made them come in season 1 to see, just all of a sudden they like pull back or pan over and like the tooth fairy is there, or just those other really unsettling images, but they never do it in a way that's like, look at this typical jump scare. It's just like again, like you discovering the mystery, you realizing that something is there. That is scarier.
Yeah, you're right. There's no cats jumping on anybody's shoulders or anything. It's not that kind of horror. Cookie's joining in. Yeah, it's every season was so well done, and I like the plots of all the seasons. So season 1 felt like the most. It's funny because to say this, but it felt the most grounded in reality. Like, even though there was all this crazy stuff going on, and we were talking about a guy covered in teeth, and then Eddie like created the TV show and whatever, but it still was like, I think it's a good way to like kind of get people into the mind space of Channel Zero, you know, because the subsequent ones are like crazier and crazier, I think. But I thought the whole season, and I love 6 episodes. You don't need more than that. It's perfect. I was shocked when the woman died, when she got stabbed by all the children. And I mean, children are scary.
Oh my gosh, I know. That's what I was thinking when I was watching this, is how we sort of, Children of the Corn lost us when it went away from being creepy children to like being more like religious and all that stuff. That's not as scary to me as just creepy kids, you know?
Well, yeah. And I think also in like Children of the Corn, they're sort of precocious and they sort of act adult-like. And like, I think in this one, they're still acting very childlike. And they are just kind of like almost drones, or like, you know, they're kind of working under this sort of stupor of Candle Cove, which we come to find out that Eddie created, which I thought was so cool. And I love, so the scene where you realize he's going to sit down and tell his mom that he's murdered him was so powerful. And as a mother of 2 sons, obviously I was like, oh my God. But it was so powerful. And at that moment, you don't know why he killed him. And you think maybe he was under the influence of Candle Cove. But then you like come to find out like his brother was evil. I mean, it unraveled so beautifully.
I agree. And also that scene, I was like, oh my God, what if the twist is that he's actually his brother, like in Frailty or whatever. Yeah. Spoiler alert. But you know, it's not. And yet it all works. And every, like you said, red herring or whatever, it's not poor writing. It is writing purposefully to keep us on the edge of our seat. Oh my God. And when she slashed his arm, when she found out, like, yeah, what would you do?
Yeah. I thought that was like really real and authentic, and like, but then she's not like, she doesn't hate him. Yeah. She still wants him to be okay. Cause like if any mother was in that situation, you know, so, and then when he finds his brother's body, it's so disturbing. I mean, there's so much. I was just glued to it. And,
we got some sound effects, courtesy of Cookie, the Jack Russell.
He was too scared. He went under the blanket when I was watching this, by the way. But yeah, what a beautifully done series. And I just wish there were more TV shows like this that like had those short anthology like seasons, you know?
I know. I totally agree. Now, season 2, is it the No End House? Again, Meg, why didn't we think of this?
I don't know. I think this is my favorite season because of the concept, because it blew my mind. Like, my mind was on fire. I love these kind of ideas. Like, I couldn't get over it.
And I feel like this had a sense of episode 9 of The Twilight Zone in it, too, because at one point, when she's stuck there with this new boyfriend and her dead dad, I was like, no, doesn't she realize like she's being used by these two men and she has no agency? But that was the point.
Yeah, it was the point. So that was so well done. And okay, so this whole concept, it's starting out with them going into this haunted house. First of all, that was cool. Like the first couple rooms are really cool. And I'm like, wow, this is neat. But this whole idea of them coming out of the house and thinking they're out of the house, but they're in this like alternate parallel universe sort of, but that's still like a haunted house. Holy shit. And then she sees the 6 on the door. And so she knows they're like in the 6th room, so to speak, of a haunted house. Like I was just blown away. And her friend has the agency. And so she is kind of has our like typical final girl spirit, which I kind of liked because it sort of left the other Margot girl, to sort of be used by these two men and not be able to recognize it and being kind of stuck in this like guilt cycle. And this whole idea of like using grief as her horror was fascinating, and all the like the personal horror that everyone lives. But this whole concept of these people living over there that aren't real people, Kelly.
I know. And the eating them, and like they kind of look like a pomegranate. Yeah. Like, what? It's so good. It's so creepy. It's so icky and visceral and blah.
I feel like it would be so hard to describe to somebody like what it's about. Like me, I'm struggling to like put any sort of eloquence into it because it's like, eating the memories. And then there's sort of like cannibalistic, but there's like, there's so many layers. And then John Carroll Lynch is in it. He's really cool. He's in lots of horror stuff. So that was cool. And, I don't know. I struggle to talk about it, like I said, because it is a Twilight Zone, very sci-fi-like concept. And then she goes back into the real world. And then the 6th episode starts with a year later. She's been in that parallel universe for a year. I'm like, what the fuck?
I know. And she's writing down the memories that she's going to give him so he can keep eating. And I'm just like, that's disgusting, but brilliant. And oh my God, when her friend, like you see her friend a year later, like still doing, like tracking where the house is going to be, she's such a badass. And when we think that her boyfriend's got her, I can't remember her friend's name, but, and she busts out of there and she's such a badass and she's covered in blood and she's like, let's go. I like stood up and applauded.
Yeah. That was so cool. And I love friendship storylines. So that was really nice. And then it sort of, unravels and it's like, this house is evil. It's this organism, as the boyfriend keeps saying, but the true evil person in this is the boyfriend, who is a human, but he's manipulating the system and leaving these husks of girls.
It's such a great shot when they're in the cul-de-sac with his family, quote unquote, and then all the women come out of the houses, and it's just like perfectly shot overhead view, and you just feel disgusting. Like he's a rapist.
Yeah, he is. And he's like, oh, what, and there's so many layers there to unearth. But yeah, what a just vivid, and I just love television or books or movies or whatever that like insists that you see the world differently and like pushes the boundaries of how we see Earth and humanity and all of that. And just this whole concept was so cool to me. And I think it's so neat that somebody obviously like came up with this in a creepypasta. And I love that people are so creative and see the world like this.
This season also, I mean, the first season I loved, but this season I actually cried outwardly when her dad died by suicide. Or he didn't, because he's not even human. But when he made that choice, I cried. Like it made me feel that strongly for these characters.
Yeah, I mean, after only 6 episodes, and you just feel like, holy cow. Yeah, it's it was, like I said, it was so good. I mean, I can't complain about anything, because it's just like, it just kept me again, caring about the characters so quickly and just all the scary bits. It's frightening.
I can tell you the scene when I made Campbell come in and watch, because it creeped me the F out, when she goes into the room and her dead dad, where he died, is sitting on the couch, and then he gets up and he's like, can't really form words. That's disgusting.
It is disgusting. And it was like the mix of those kind of things. And then like when she wakes up and she opens her closet and it's all messed up, and because the world like isn't formulated right or something, and then she ends up going and hiding in her closet and then coming out her swimming pool, and like, so those kind of concepts like married with, there were some really scary moments like in the haunted house that I still don't even understand. Like, why were they in a Russian classroom? I have no idea. But yeah, her dad.
Oh, yeah, that guy. Well, they were talking about their greatest fears, and she had that nightmare or something about it. But like the guy, and she was saying like the mirror, and like the guy's laughing behind it, and she had to walk past it. Like, that's so icky. And like, if that was in a real haunted house, I would run out.
I know. I kept thinking like, what would I do in that situation? And I'd be like, exit door. Like every room had an exit door. I'm like, yeah. And it's the simple things like that. Like a guy standing behind a mirror giggling.
Yes. He didn't even do anything. He just looked at her and ew. Okay. Season 3. What was season 3?
Butcher's Block. So I like this season mostly just because I like gore and had a lot of gore in it.
I feel like it's a little bit Texas Chainsaw Massacre. I like that. I like the older woman character. Are they renting from her? Yeah. And the couple, like everything, or the sister. You know what I'm talking about. I loved everything.
So these sisters move into this woman's house in this town that they haven't lived in before. They learn about Butcher's Block, which is like sort of, it kind of made me think of like the projects in like Candyman, kind of like, you know, it's kind of scary. There's graffiti everywhere. There's like people down on their luck around here. And we learn about the Peach family. And yeah, I loved it all. I loved again, it's kind of this whole concept of going up the stairs into this alternate world. The Peach family are kind of renting their space, so to speak, from like the devil himself, I guess. I don't know. But it's like the ticket to ride is you have to start eating people, I guess.
I mean, it started, you know, it's so innocent. It's like, she's going to be a social worker, and this mom, I'm going to help you, you know, keep your daughter. And then we see somebody's in the wall, and this girl has disappeared. And then the sister thinks it's the girl because they're those little people in the red coats. Like, what the F is going on? But it's so, it's done in such a way, like, as I'm describing it, this doesn't even sound like a real show. It sounds like I'm making word puzzles or something, but it worked. And when like the sister was purposely hurting herself or eating herself in order not to eat someone else, like, wow.
Yeah, that happened. Yeah, I loved all that gore. It was so disturbing when she was cutting off her own leg pieces. Like, holy shit. I'm smiling because I just love it. All that shit. But I love the whole backstory of like, you know, something was up with their mom, and they showed it a couple times, but they didn't like show immediately what it was.
Yes, the whole underlying story of mental illness, and like, are we bound or next and like fated to become this?
Oh, yes. And like, so that was her main fear, was like having this mental illness that her mom and sister have. And then what would you do to give up that mental illness? So the sister does that with Rutger Hauer. He takes out some sort of gross millipede thing or whatever that is out of her, and that represents the mental illness. But the only drawback is she has to start eating human flesh. And the dinner scene with Edie Peach, the pregnant sister.
She is so funny. Like, that character and like her birth scene. Okay, I go.
But this, yeah, it really had like, there was a comedic tone more so, I think, than the last two seasons. And it really like brought the gore up and brought the like uncomfortableness that I love. But yeah, oh my God.
No, I was thinking, boyfriend because I was thinking of the cop, but I know he's not actually a boyfriend, but he comes in, I guess I wanted him to be the boyfriend.
So freaking cute.
Yeah. But when they're literally like chopping up bodies together in the basement, like I'm like, Meg has to watch this show.
You were right. Yeah, I love the cop boyfriend who's in season 4 as well. He's so freaking cute. And he has this whole story. Like, how do they do this in 6 episodes? He had this whole storyline about how, like, he wants his dad to be proud of him. His brothers are all, like, macho and he's not. And he wants to, like, kind of prove that he's macho, but at the same time he is sensitive. And like when he sees the guy eating the other guy in the jail, he's obviously upset and reacting like a human would, but his dad's like, get over it.
That guy, and like how he like was
So when he sliced his son's throat, I was so shocked. I'm like, oh my god, he's dead. Like I thought he was gonna be dead forever, and I was like, no, but thankfully he made it through thanks to the old lady. We are just saying random things. Like, this doesn't sound real. It sounds like we're tripping on whatever they had in the beach house.
And honestly, okay, no, but it was so good, and I didn't realize how little I can actually formulate thoughts about it or talk about it without it sounding random. But there we are.
Yeah. I mean, because a lot of it relies, though, on this sort of randomness. It's not like this coherent story of like them all working together to find a murderer. Yeah. I mean, it's very, there are like flesh plants growing. I mean, there's a lot going on.
I love it. Now, season 4, Pretzel Jack. Again, Meg, why didn't we think of this? She literally created him and he lived in her little closet. Like, what?
Can we just go back to the first thing that was created in the house, which is a pug?
I was gonna tell you, but then I'm like, no, I don't want to ruin anything.
So they go downstairs and literally there's just a black pug down there. That's my dream. I just want you to know. And then cut to later when there's the whole army of black pugs in different colored sweaters chewing on a body. And I texted you and said, may this be the way I go.
Honestly, that instead of a burial, we'll just do that.
But anyway, yes. I mean, this concept that she has dad issues and that she created this little friend who's like a contortionist clown. Which, I mean, I don't think as a child that was where my mind would have gone. But yeah, she creates him and he lives in her closet.
And how they reveal that too. It's not like they don't start with the flashback of him holding her with his creepy like arm out of his socket. They show that later and it's like, what the fuck? And this actor, like, bless his heart. Yeah. He's great. Like, he's really doing that stuff.
Yeah, I looked him up and he's been in like other things as a contortionist. I mean, that's a gig that you can do. So.
I freaking love it. We're going to hire all the contortionists like for some project eventually. Now, I love this other that father backstory and through line becomes extremely important because their neighbor is actually her brother. More on that later. But also I love this other backstory of them as a couple and he's cheated or he hasn't or something else weird is going on. Like even when he goes to the sensory deprivation tank thing, like you don't really know what's going on. They just give you enough to keep you trying to figure it out.
Yeah, they give you these little tiny pebbles and you just feel so compelled to keep going. And it's just a great way of storytelling. I feel like we could all learn something from the way that they are just showing images, giving little things, revealing, pulling back the curtain, and they're not telling things in a linear way all the time. The end of the first episode, so this is the first episode that I watched because I started with this season. When he comes out and starts stabbing that friend, I lost my mind. Like, I was screaming.
I screamed at that too. I was like, what the fuck?
Like, it was so scary and unexpected because, I don't know, I think it just wasn't, I wasn't expecting something that violent and that over the top to happen at that moment. You know, it was such a treat. Like, I was so out of my mind with it. I could not wait to watch more.
And then he did like the weird thing and like walked out and his arms hit the door frame. Like, that was just wrong on every level.
Oh my God, yes, when he walked out after. It was so creepy. It was so creepy.
I just freaking love it. And this all starts, of course, because there's a door in their basement that wasn't there before. They get through that one and there's another door and she puts her hand on it. Oh my God, the first time you see him, I screamed when he ran at her. Oh my God.
Yeah. Just the concept again of like this door, that door wasn't in here before. Then you got this creepy neighbor situation and you're like, maybe he's nice. I don't know. It seemed like maybe he was like just a nice guy.
And I'm like, oh, maybe this is a potential love interest because her husband is cheating and these two can be together.
Yeah, I thought the same thing. And then at some point that it's her brother and then he is being romantic with her and she doesn't know. And dude, what's wrong with you? And then it kind of like just starts to build. And then there's the whole, like, I was literally laughing when Steven Weber got killed because it was funny.
It was so funny. He didn't believe them or her. And then, like he literally crawls through the window.
And he's like, you get out, you.
It's so good. Hey, did you notice this season and season 2, maybe the others, all the vehicles had Minnesota license plates?
Yeah, I noticed that in season 2 there was a Minnesota license plate, and in this season they said like Itasca County in Minnesota, so it all seems
to be set in Minnesota.
Yeah, I know, that's pretty cool. I think, and I always harp on this is what I love, but I love horror that has backstories and we get to like really get into characters' past, and you'd think with 6 episodes that's not possible, but again, like, we're getting into her daddy issues. We're getting into this whole backstory about the husband, and he thinks he has a son. And so there's just like all these, and she has trust issues. And so it's like particularly bad for her because of what she's gone through. And so you have all that through line. But at the same time, you have this fucking creepy clown like climbing around people's backyards and like contorting into places. So I just love the marriage of those two.
You know, this couple too, they had that issue with like wanting kids or not wanting kids, and then when she does create that small door after they have sex and it's a baby but it's not fully formed. There were so many feelings in that scene, and how she was holding it, and like even though it's not entirely human or whatever, like she loved it. It was like moving yet disgusting. Like,
and then the brother who is turning out to be the bad guy, like he's creating all these doors to like get, people after them or creatures after them or whatever. And he creates her husband, like a double of her husband, so that he can kiss her again. Like, dude.
I know. Gross. Oh my gosh. When she creates Pretzel Jack and they're like all on the same side, I, again, was laughing so hard because it's so cute.
I was thinking of you because you love like Frankenstein's monster, and like you have your special place in your heart for those, and I love that about you. And it's like here's Pretzel Jack just being part of the fam. It made me think of you, and also like the dead husks of Pretzel Jack that was like in the whatever in the
closet, and she brought it home.
God, it's so again we're just saying the most random shit.
Oh, she brought home his corpse.
She brought home Pretzel Jack's sort of corpse, but then he is back, and like it doesn't make any sense. But you have to watch. Well, I hope nobody's listening to this who hasn't watched it, because this would sound very strange.
Or maybe it is good, and then you can go watch and it'll all make sense.
You'll say, "Oh, Mike and Kelly haven't lost it."
What if we just created this in our minds, and it's all a fever dream in quarantine?
What if we've created everything?
We're
not doing a very good job right now, then.
Oh, what a world. Now, I know if I was going to rank this series on a whole, like just 0 out of 10, I'm going to use Pretzel Jack because I love him. I would give it 10 because I loved every season for a different reason. Now, you said season 2 you think is your favorite. Could you rank them like which of your, how would you?
I'd probably say 2, 4, 3, 1. What about you?
Yeah, I like. In retrospect, I think I agree. When I told you to start with season 4, it's literally after I watched the first episode, I'm like, this made me scream twice. You just need to watch this right now because I want to talk about it right now. But yeah, I think season 2 though,
Well, and I think season 4 might be scarier.
Yeah.
Like, made me like more scared, but season 2, just the concept, like I love thinking about it.
Yeah, and like I said, that season made me feel all sorts of things, and I literally applauded and I literally cried, and so good.
What I wish had like some resolution is I liked that like friend that died, the guy, and I felt like, okay, so if you die in that world, then you're dead, I guess. But I just kind of felt like he died, and then I was like, but whatever like I felt like I kind of liked him. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that was I kind of forgot about that because that whole storyline of him and then he was already there and it's like, what? And yeah, I don't know.
But there are only so many things you can go talk about, and he wasn't that important, I guess. But I thought it was kind of cute that he liked her friend in the beginning and stuff. And I was like, oh, he's cute. Like, I like him. He seems like a nice guy. And but then he got killed by his double. So then his double went on, but then his double got killed. But I'm like, wow, I guess he really is like dead.
I guess. Oh, I was just thinking about their gross bodies. Like the eating. Ugh.
Oh, when the puppy came up and he's eating the puppy and the little puppy head was there. And I know it wasn't a real puppy, but
I know.
It was upsetting. Oh, I love in season 3 when they piss off the devil and they just all explode.
Yes. It reminds me of another movie where they explode at the end, which I won't give away in case you haven't seen it. Have you seen it?
I think so.
Oh.
Which one? Oh, yeah.
Okay.
I'm like, I remember that. Yeah, ready or not. Yeah.
I literally covered it so we wouldn't say and then you just said it. But it doesn't matter. No, everybody. Yes, we've talked about it.
That? Didn't you?
Yeah.
They explode at the end, you guys.
It doesn't matter. You can, I mean, I don't think it's spoiled. I still think it's a good movie, even if you know the ending.
Yeah, I mean, doesn't that make you want to watch a movie more?
It's fine. I don't know what else to say. This show got canceled, and that's a travesty.
It is a travesty. And like, what? I don't like that. I hope it gets resurrected maybe on Shudder. If they're doing Creepshow, like why can't they resurrect this show on there? I would love that. I think I was reading that he's doing something else. The guy who was the showrunner of this show. I should look at what it was because I was like, ooh. I can't remember though. But this is a good reason to get Shudder, and like if you haven't got it yet, this is like you can get your week trial and you can watch it all in a week if you want to.
Yes. Oh, it's so worth it, and it's so good. And Shudder really, even from when they first started, which we started subscribing immediately, but they have so much more content now than they used to.
Yeah, they do. And it's fun to just go on there. And now they have like the Shudder TV with the 3 different things. I like to just sometimes put that on too in the background.
Yes. Get it, you guys. And Shudder, you can sponsor us if you want.
Yeah, that sounds good.
All right. Until next time, stay safe, be well, and we'll see you in the horror section.